Hello again and welcome to video 29 in my series of AnyRail tutorials. Now in this video we're going to design a little more complicated object. And once again that object is going to be a building. Now for this video we're going to say that you've gone out and you found a full-size 1-to-1 scale building and you'd like to build that for your model railroad. And you would also like to make this into an object to use in AnyRail. That way you can place it on your model railroad and make any changes that are necessary. So here's the building that we're going to end up with. Now this is a pretty nice little building. It measures about 7.86 inches in the horizontal direction. And over the two loading docks here, it measures about 6.9 inches. And it's a little more complicated because it does have the two loading docks coming out, one here, one there, has 3 sets of stairs, an entryway here, and then it bulges out a little bit here. So let's take a look at what the original building looks like. Now this building is near and dear to my heart because this is actually the KCBS transmitter building where I spent 31 years of my life maintaining transmitters. I always thought that this building would make a good model railroad building because it actually has 2 loading docks, one up here and one down here. So in my mind, I figured this could be the rail service side down here, and this one could be for trucks. Now don't worry about anything that you see inside here. This is actually showing the building configuration as it was in 1950 when the building was originally built. And none of this exists anymore except for the kitchen area and the bath area. And even that has changed a little bit over the last 71 years. Now I made this drawing about 25 years ago, and you can see that everything is in fractional inches if I zoom in. And that's all fine and good, but we're going to have to convert those down to something we can use in HO, which is the scale that I am working in. Now stick with me here a little bit because I'm going to get into a little bit about CAD and CAD programs. Now when I do my drawing in AnyRail, I'm going to be using decimal inches, and I'm going to be using 2 decimal place decimal inches, meaning there are 2 numbers to the right of the decimal point. You can go to 3, but for this demonstration, I'm only going to go to 2 decimal places. Now, one of the nice things about having a CAD program is that I can go out and I can make all of my measurements using a fractional inch tape measure, and I can do a drawing of the building. And your drawing doesn't have to be this complete. This is a drawing that we did because we were doing some interior modifications to the building. There are other layers in this drawing, just like AnyRail. My CAD program has multiple layers. So I have different layers in here that show how the building has changed over the years. And we also have things like electrical conduits and everything else that we would need on a drawing like this. So you wouldn't have to do something like this. But the nice thing about CAD is I can come up here. I can go to specs. I can come down here to units. And now I can come over here and I say, please display this in decimal inches. Hit OK. Now everything has changed to decimal inches. So I didn't have to sit down with a calculator and figure out decimal inches from the fractional units that I had here. CAD did it for me automatically. So then the other thing I was able to do is I was able to do this. I was able to take a copy of this drawing and tell it to scale it by 1/87th. And I ended up with this drawing. So here's my building in HO decimal units. And I didn't have to hit the calculator and spend a lot of time figuring this out. I just scaled the drawing and there it is for me. Now, as far as I know, you can't do that in AnyRail. You can't draw something full size and then ask it to save it in a certain scale. So I'm just plugging CAD here a little bit because it makes life a lot easier. Now I use a program called FastCAD and I've used it for over 30 years, but there are a lot of other CAD programs out there. There are even some free CAD programs out there that you might want to check out if you're going to be doing something like this because it just saves you a little bit of time with the calculator. So okay, let's go and start drawing this building into FastCAD. So once again, here's the building in AnyRail. And if you look up here, you'll notice that I have something turned on here that I don't normally use, and that's the ruler. And the reason it's on is because I'm working on another video in which I need the ruler. And when I opened this drawing to record this video, it was just there. Now, the ruler, I don't think I've ever gone over this, is over here. you go to Options, and the first thing that pops up under General is rulers. And you can have rulers top, left, right, or bottom. In my case, I just wanted them on the top and the left. And this width down here, that merely determines how wide the ruler is on the screen. And I just left it at the default of 0.16 inch. So let's get rid of that. And I'm just going to leave the rulers on because they kind of look cool. Now this is a multi-layer drawing. I have a building outline, an entry roof, loading dock north. I can turn on and off my fill for the different loading docks. I can turn on and off the main roof if I want. Now my reasoning behind why I want to do this as a multi-layer drawing is because I want to save this drawing for future use. So if I ever need to go back in and change my object for any reason, I can bring up this drawing, turn on or off whatever layers I need to work on, and then save that drawing again, and then save it as an object again. Now this drawing is on a 12 inch by 12 inch square, and I have my settings set to a 12 inch grid size. And because I'm doing decimal, my snap to grid size is 0.02 inches. Now real fast, I select the decimal over here. And when I do, instead of precision, it says decimals. And I can select 0, 1, 2, or 3 decimals to the right of the decimal point. And I have it set to 2 because I think that's good enough for what we're going to do here. Now my grid, I could change my grid if I wanted to. I could put in 6. I could even put in 1. But it sort of jumbles up the drawing a bit. And it's not really all that necessary. Now I have another video on the way. And we're going to go into great detail about the measurement system and how you set it up. I sort of skimmed over it in earlier videos. But this time I want to go into greater detail. So we're going to go in and we're going to talk about precision, which is called decimals right now. Grid size, and snap to grid, and how all that works together. It's going to be a long video and maybe something you don't want to watch, but if you want to delve into the details of AnyRail and its little secrets and how it works, you might find the video interesting. Okay, now, sharp-eyed viewers may have noticed that I'm starting at the 1, 1 point here, like I like to do, because that gives me a little wiggle room out here. But the drawing I showed you last time just shows the dimensions of each line. It doesn't take into account that 1, 1 starting point. And to be honest with you, I don't know if there's a way that I could actually change the dimensions on this to actually do that. So what I had to do was this. I had to make another drawing in which I went in and I set all of the important coordinates. Now this looks like an awful lot of work, and it was. And that's because I was drawing this using just separate lines all the way around. Every step was a separate line. And then, as I pointed out in video 28, I could have used rectangles, which makes it a lot easier. So what we're going to do here is we're going to draw this entire building using rectangles. And we'll just cherry pick whatever dimension we need to make our drawing. Now we'll probably make like steps, all of these steps. We'll probably make them little sub-assemblies and then we'll pop them into place. We'll see how that goes. So let's get started on this. Okay, so here we go. We have our nice clean sheet of paper right here to start drawing on. We're going to start with the building outline. So we are on the building outline layer. Now I'm just sort of winging this as I go along. So if I make a mistake and it's not too embarrassing, I will probably show you what I did. If it is too embarrassing, I will just edit it out. In fact, this is actually take 3 for this. You don't want to see the first 2 takes. All right, let's see what we're going to add in first. Here's our drawing. We're going to put in this rectangle right here. And it is 2.02 inches horizontally and 0.55 inches vertically. So let's do that one first. Okay, so let's go up to Insert. And let's put in our values. 2.02 and 0.55 for the height. Go over here, hit Add Rectangle. And there's our rectangle. Oh, one thing I did is I pulled this drawing so that this corner 0, 0 is showing. And you can look down at mouse coordinates and you can see I'm almost at 0, 0. All right, now let's zoom in a little bit here. Let's move this guy up a little closer to where he's going to go. And we'll zoom in. Now, that's a pretty wide line. I don't like that line. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come up here and I'm going to change the line width. Now, one thing about AnyRail, and I think this is a failing of AnyRail, is there's no place that I know of where I can go in and I can tell AnyRail that my lines, my outline lines for rectangles or circles, I want them to be a specific width. So that every time I draw a rectangle or a circle or whatever, a surface, that outline line will always be that width. And as far as I know, I can't do that with this. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to type in 0.01. I'm going to have to do that every time I put in a rectangle. Okay, so that looks, oops, that looks a lot better. All right, let's go grab this corner. And we're going to put this corner at the origin point of our drawing, which is 1, 1. And you can see we're pretty darn close right there. So we're going to do 1, 1, enter. We have our first rectangle in place for our building. Now I'm going to zoom out a bit for this next bit. That looks good. Now we're going to put in this. We're going to put in the main body of the building. Now this dimension here on this line is 6.21 inches. But the rectangle I'm going to draw is only going to be 5.66 inches in this direction. And that's because we are starting 0.55 inches down from our starting point, our 1, 1 point. The width remains the same at 7.86 across here. But we have to shrink this line down, this dimension down, to accommodate the fact that we are 0.55 inches in. So let's get rid of this guy. We'll go to Insert. I'm going to type in a width of 7.86 inches and a height of 5.66. Add rectangle, come down here, center our mouse, and there's our rectangle. Now we got to go shrink that line. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this point to this point. So let's check its XY. And we see it's 1 by 1.55. So we'll come here, select that, and do 1 and 1.55, enter. Now we've got our big rectangle lined up. So the next thing we're going to add is the entryway. This part right here. Now this guy works out to be a rectangle of 1.17 horizontally and 0.69 inches vertically. So let's go do that. I'm going to pull my drawing down a bit. Go to Insert. Add rectangle. There's our entryway. Change the line width. Now the entryway is inset from the edge of the building, somewhere right around here. So we need to get that coordinate point. So we'll look at our other drawing, and we can see that corner is at 2.93 inches in from the corner and 7.21 inches down. So let's give that a try. It didn't work in the last take. Let's see if it works this time. So we're going to set that point, make sure we're still moving the surface to 2.93 and a Y of 7.21. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to check that by doing this. I'm going to add a ruler, a horribly big ruler. And I'm not quite on the line, but it's supposed to be inset 1.923 inches. And sure enough, it's looking like it is. So we got that one right. Let's get rid of our ruler. I wish you could make the ruler smaller. And let's zoom out and look at our drawing. So I think we're off to a pretty good start. Let's put in the loading dock up here. And that looks like that. So we'll build our first loading dock, which I call the north loading dock, out of a rectangle. And that rectangle is 2.26 inches wide by 0.55 inches high. So let's go over here and let's make loading dock north our active layer. Now we'll zoom in up here. And we'll go to Insert. We'll type in come over here, hit Add Rectangle, and let's put that rectangle in. And there it is. Okay, let's go change the line width, and that's going to be something we're going to be doing a lot in this drawing. And now we'll put our rectangle into place. Now I'm going to grab this edge down here, this corner down here. And that corner is going to go at 3.85 in the X and 1.55 in the Y. So let's move that into place right now. We'll select that corner. We want to move the entire surface. 3.85 and 1.55. And there we go. Now let's do what I call the south loading dock down here. We'll go to that layer. We'll zoom in, give ourselves some working room here. Now this loading dock is 2.07 inches wide by 0.69 inches deep. And that might be changed when I actually build this building, but for right now, that's what we're going to go with. So let's put those numbers in. And there it is. Now remember, I'm only changing this line width because I think it looks better to me. You might not care about it, or you might decide a different line width looks better to you. I kind of like this 0.01. Now I'm going to take this corner and I'm going to put it over here. So I'm going to use those dimensions. And that dimension for that corner is 8.79 by 721. So let's move that. And there's our other loading dock in place. And I'm not going to worry about the loading dock doors yet. We'll add those in later on when we do some more of the fiddly bits on this drawing. Now, I want to add a roof. And the way I'm going to add a roof is I'm going to use a surface. And then I am going to put points, draw it out roughly, put points in. And then I'll go in and I'll use my XY coordinates to place that surface on top of my building outline. Now that's a bit of work, and the reason I'm doing that is because I really don't want this line here. And we have this line because we're building the building out of rectangles. Now another way that I could color in a roof that's actually a lot easier is I could just come in and I can select the rectangles that make up my building and just come up and fill them with a color. Like that. And then for this guy down here, I want to select a slightly different color. So I'm going to go to here and I'm going to select that. And that's the quick way to do it. But like I said, I don't want this line in there. So I'm going to do it with a surface. So let me reset here. I just like to make things harder, I guess. I don't know. So I'm going to go to the main roof layer, make that my operating layer. I'm going to come up here to Insert. I'm going to say Add Surface. And I'm just going to click here, and here, 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 and like that. I'm going to go change that line width again. And then I'm going to select my roof color. And I'm going to make it this brown color right here. And also I'm going to send this to the back so I can see my building outline. Now I could go in maybe and mess around with the settings and maybe get the snap points correct so I could just drag this down. But since I have all of my coordinate points already figured out, I'm just going to go in and I'm just going to set the coordinate points. So let me work my way around and we'll get this roof into place. So we'll start up here. And now we want to move just the point. And now before I put in this point's coordinates, I'm going to change this surface and I'm going to bring it to the front, just like that. So now it's sitting on top of the building. Now I'll come over here and I'll grab this one and I'll put in its coordinates. And there we go. We've got our roof in place. Now this roof on the real building is just flat roof. So I don't have to draw in any lines showing, where peaks are on the roof. This is just a flat roof. So let's put in our roof down here as well. I'm going to zoom in on that area. Go to the entry roof layer. Insert. Surface. Now I'm going to give this a different color. And I'm going to go to the sort of a color wheel here. You can also go to this display and you can move the sliders around as you want to get different colors. But I'm just going to stick with this color wheel. And I'm going to grab that color maybe right there. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, I like that. It's just different enough to set it apart. Okay, so I'm going to put in these 4 coordinates for this. And our building is starting to come together. Now, I've mentioned before that one of the reasons I like to do it this way and with the layers is because if I want to go back and change things, I can just turn layers on and off. So like I can turn the main roof off. And of course, that isn't necessary if you color your rectangles that you've made the building out of. But like I said, this is the way I like to do it. And I've showed you, both ways that you can do it. So, pick the one that you like the best. Now, when I was putting in all these coordinates for the roof, it went really, really fast. Of course, I sped it up in the video so you didn't have to sit there and watch me type them in real time. But it went really fast because I had my drawing with all of my coordinates written down. Now, if you're going to go out and measure a building, and let me point out, I have never built a scale model building for a railroad from an actual building. This is going to be my first attempt at it. But I figure you're going to go on, you're going to make all those measurements. You're going to have to translate them into HO or OO or O or whatever you're working in. So it's going to take you a little bit of time to do that, to get ready to actually build your model. So putting in the extra bit of time to get the coordinates for your AnyRail object, I don't think that's going to be a big deal for most people. So we have a pretty good basic drawing of our building right now. And for a lot of us, this would be all the detail that we would need to put it into our AnyRail design and then design our track coming in and whatever other buildings we might need. But just because I'm crazy, I want to add a little more detail into the drawing. But I'm not going to do that in this video. So pretty much you could do what we did here, stop here, come up, select the whole thing, and save it as an object, and you're done. But like I said, I'm a little crazy, and I'm going to go a little bit farther than that with the detail. And yeah, I know I said I was going to end the video here, but I just thought of something. So let me show you something really fast. Now I can add text into this drawing by doing this. And we can give this building a name. Then I can come in if I want, and I can change the size of my text. So it's 12 right now, and I think we could make it maybe 3 times larger. So let's try 36. And that looks better. Now I can drag it around. I can click out here. There's the name of the building. Now I can also come up and I can change the color of the text. I can change the font, stuff like that. I could also come over here and I could say that I want this to be the north loading dock. And I can do the same down here. So you can add in text, things like that. You could actually put in the dimension if you wanted to remind you when you put it into your AnyRail drawing. So let me show you what we're going to be looking at in the next video. So in the next video, we'll be doing the fiddly bits, and that'll be the ventilators and all the staircases here. We'll also be adding doors, and that's just for visual interest. I have no idea what the size of these doors are, and it doesn't really matter because this is just a representation of the building to put into your AnyRail design. Okay, we'll see you in the next video, and that's going to be video 30. We'll see you then.